Oh yeah, come on, come on. This is that boom bap breakfast right here on Black Power Media. This is the Remix Morning Show. I go by the name of the Ear Doctor, and let me introduce you to your host. We got no other than Burn It Down Kim Brat, and Kalanji Jama Chunga, and Dr. Jared Ball.
Oh my goodness, you cold want to be with me? Cause I need someone to be with, someone to talk to. You cold want to be with me because you need someone to be with,
someone to talk to.
Talk to. Ear Doctor. Woo!
Let's get it.
Doug for that one. Yes. Who sang that? I forget who was that. UTFO?
Yeah, UTFO. Yes.
Woo!
Rest in peace to Doc Ice.
Yeah.
And Educated Lover.
Even remember.
Educated Lover and Doc Ice.
Educated rapper.
Rapper, yeah. I said lover. Thank you. All right, we got hip hop heads in here. That's right. Keep me accountability. Keep me in point. Word. How y'all doing this morning?
Good morning.
What's up, good people? What's up, good people?
Gerard, your background is a little different. Tell the people what's going on. Where are you, sir?
So back part 2, breath test part 2. Back in the doctor's office for a few hours, getting this figuring out what's happening internally. So, I didn't want, speaking of, I thought Jackie might be here and I wanted to commiserate with her because I felt like she's getting all the doctor hospitalization attention, like she's getting all the procedures attention. I felt the kind of way, so I was like, they can run up into the doctor's office.
Jack won't let nobody get their shine.
We ain't got Jackie, man, but we do have Franklin, and Caleb.
You're who?
Caleb. That's not how you say
He
it.
said I'm Junior. Oh no, that's not how you say his name, son.
Come on, this is me.
Well, that's true. You get all it. Yeah, true. So yeah, I can tell the spring break.
Still,
yes.
Good Lord.
Again, and every week, every week, another reason.
Everybody knows it's spring again.
I was like, there's another reason not to go to school.
Well, this is an opportunity for you to demonstrate your exemplary parenting, Kamau. So
by shooing him away.
Yeah, exactly. This is
an opportunity.
Adult show. Come on. All right. Oh, ain't that?
Oh wow! Ear Doctor said no kids allowed.
That's right. Come on, man. We got the seller over here, Kim Brown. You know how she talks.
Oh well, you see who his father is. I'm sorry. I believe Kamau does not curse at his children. I believe he curses around his children.
No. They got a little bucket. They got a bucket for me. Anything I owe money. Any curses, I gotta give him some money. Apparently, I'm up to $300.
I was about to say you must be in debt. You must have accrued quite a debt over there at the Franklin household.
I'm trying not to, but yeah.
Let me get out of here.
That's what happened to my Freedom Scholar money.
Got ate up by profanity.
Ate up by the cuss bucket.
The cuss bucket.
We need a cuss bucket on here. I'm gonna start collecting. How about that?
Yeah, I ain't paying.
So speaking of cuss buckets, Kalanji, I got a bone to pick with you, man.
Uh-oh.
I got a bone to pick with you, Kalanji.
Did I cuss?
And no. You because you know I can't live without my credit. And if I heard correctly on the remix yesterday, where you were talking about your wonderful trip to Detroit, there was one big step that got left out of that discussion.
Shout out to Dr. Jared Ball for passing the baton to the guard.
I was like,
hey, my brain was all over the place. Definitely. And check this out, though. A few different people asked about you out there. I want to say that, you know what I'm saying? They love Black Power Media. Shout out to all the good folks out there in Detroit again. You know what I mean? But the folks did ask, they said, man, we invited Dr. Ball, but you way doper. I was like, listen, Dr. Ball. But anyway, no good looking.
I knew what it was. I said, you don't want little old JB. Hey. Let me. I'm just a warm up act. let me put you in touch with the double K's. They said we already know Kamau. Let's get Kalonji out here.
Hey,
it was like enough with the.
I was confused when they called me. I was like, now you do know this is Kalonji, right? Have you saw my, but nah, it was that.
Tell him, Anthony, you better let him know. I need my credit. I told you I'm Dustin Hoffman at the end of Wag the Dog. I'm getting
and
walked
10%.
out the car.
And 10%.
And 10%.
Listen.
I want my 10%.
Hey, you may owe me 10% because they still owe me. But that's a whole other story. But
there it is.
I'm not gonna put them on black.
There it is.
But it was a dope joint. And shout out to Kamal's guy, Yusuf, bunch of Shakur. You know what I'm saying? I hung out with him as well. Him
Absolutely.
and G Mac and the whole crew out there. You know what I'm saying? So it was a
but in all
nice
sincerity, like I get it though. Like in all seriousness, all jokes aside, like I think this is how to me teamwork works. That
Absolutely.
There are things that you and Kamau are better suited to than I am. So I'm happy. Like if people call me and I'm like, you don't want that. You don't want this right here. You deserve something a little bit better than that. So next time somebody reaches out, it is what I told him. It is in fact literally what I told. In fact, again, all jokes aside, I said, look, you're looking for somebody to talk about grassroots organizing. These two do more of that than I do. So if next time holler at me, you want to talk some buying power, I'll be right out there. You know what I'm saying?
No doubt.
If the topic is grassroots organizing, it should be
but that's
you,
what it is.
Kamau, in terms of the folks I work with. Absolutely.
That goes with us knowing our lane as well. Because sometimes you deal with folks that want to do everything. I'm a master chef. I'm a doctor. I'm a auto mechanic. The one thing I learned about organizing is putting people in the right position. You know what I'm saying? You will fail every time if you just fill your space just to fill the space. You know what I mean? Filling slots just to fill slots. I ran into a whole lot of hiccups because of put this brother right here because he comes to all the meetings, but that's not what he's into. And when they tell you they're not into it and you still do it, it's like, whatever, so definitely shout out to J Ball on that. Oh, and also holding it down the other day on Monday. Anyway,
what happened?
Same person with us. And I said for holding things down on Monday as well.
Oh, yeah. No doubt. That's how we got to make it work. Everybody's out here busy doing a lot of stuff. So, yes. And next time somebody says, they want to talk to somebody about hip hop and music, I'm gonna be like, don't call Kamau. You need to holler at Kim. There it is.
I'm the first one they need to call.
Nobody wants to hear. Nobody wants to hear girls' takes on rap music, gentlemen. Yeah, haven't y'all learned this by now? Haven't y'all been in hip hop long enough to know that you actually got to be a female MC and or I was going to say Dream Hampton, but that's not Dream's lane anymore. But no, nobody wants to hear girls talk about rap.
I know too many dope women MCs to buy that. You know what I'm saying? That I would call.
I mean, you don't have to, but you personally don't have to buy it. Just look. it ain't. That's not my opinion. You know what I'm saying? That's just the facts out here. So, I'm because y'all know I don't do sidekick, but it's cool. But anyway, what's going on with the rattle? What's going on? It sounds.
The young man, he gave everybody a little cough.
Little cough. Jesus.
Well, he had this in class and to spend, I'm not taking him to the doctor. Oh, God damn. Yeah, he is.
God,
can you not cough up along that thing?
Go help him, Kamau. What are you doing? The child is
I threw some vapor rub at him and I told him,
some vapor rub at him. Jesus.
Apply that. Do all that.
Some WD-40.
I'm on the air.
Some icy hot.
Yeah.
The baby got to do for self around Kamau. You got to do for self, young
bourbon. A little bourbon.
Brooklyn parenting.
Man,
He needs a Vicks.
He needs something. Help him. Kamau. Go assist him.
This is Brooklyn parenting classic style 101.
He said he
He'll
threw
be all
some
right.
paper rub. Not even applied.
Actually, I do have to go help him now.
Yeah, go help your son, man.
Yeah. Go do that. Ear doctor?
Who's the first one to get CPS called on him for being on a morning show?
Oh my goodness. You see that parenting? You all right? All right. They talking about me.
On it.
Now
That's
that's
it.
not typical father parenting. I mean, I wouldn't know anything about it, but it just from what I understand, that's how fathers they do that.
Yeah. You gonna be
Stiff
all right?
arm parenting. Like, I'm gonna parent you from
No.
arm's length.
Where's your mama at?
There,
Where's
that's,
your mama at?
Told your ass to put that sweater on.
that's it.
Oh, Lord.
We just tell you to do things. You know, go find your mom, man.
Oh,
Get
go
outta here.
find your mother.
What, I look like your mother? You may get out of here.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
About,
Woo,
about
brother.
to get banned the first day back.
Woo,
Anyway,
You want to get nurtured? Get out of here, man. That's not what I do.
get out of here with that punk
Better
smooth.
call you.
As long as
They're
we
gonna call your
clear,
grandmother or something.
as long as
Word,
we're clear,
word.
as I suspected, but I'm
Welcome
kidding.
to the Remix Morning Show, where you
No
can get
doubt.
chest rub, you know what I'm saying, advice from the ear doctor,
Yeah,
WD
that's
40.
right. Vicks.
You know what I mean? A little bit of
Do it every
Vicks.
time.
See,
You know what I mean? Castor oil. You know what I
Castor
mean?
oil. Remember
Oh,
that?
wow.
Yeah.
They used to give us castor oil as punishment. You know what I'm saying? They were like, oh, you take,
damn.
I told you not to go out there and take this. The biggest spoon they could find. Joint be like this big.
It
Your
do
mouth
be
like
big as
that
hell.
big. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my God.
That-
I gave him $5 and I sent him to the drugstore, so he's good now.
You get him to play a number while you up. While he's up
Yeah.
at the
I told him to pick up my magazines.
store. Get some tussin.
Thank you,
ZZ
ZZ Lion.
Dad.
Get some tussin.
That's right.
You gave him $5,
That's
he ain't gonna be
it.
able to get nothing.
Thank you, ZZ Lion Dad. I bet you ZZ Lion Dad just don't throw vapor rub at his sick children.
I mean, the dude got dad
He
in his
said
title.
6? Hey, he got 6?
Sick.
Oh, sick. Oh, well, you know, different styles. You know what I'm saying? Different styles. It's all the same thing. It's just different styles, apparently.
I mean, if your title says dad in it, you got to be a pretty good dad.
That was nasty too.
360. Oh no, yeah.
Tastes
Oh,
like
360.
motor oil.
Oh,
Anyway.
look,
All right.
M
Mineral
Young,
oil.
genius. Shout out to M Young, smartness in the chat. Way to go. Thank you very much, M Young.
Okay.
Thank you very
Okay.
much.
I think y'all went good
Highlight the
together.
geniuses in the chat.
Look at this.
Yeah, it
Okay.
was
Zinzabel.
Great show yesterday.
Zanzibar.
Shouts up. Man.
I think that
Yeah,
Jed
he
paid
does
those people
better
off.
promoting. No, he does better promoting BPM than Kamau.
Oh,
Supposed to go back on too.
And notice, everybody noticed Kamau when I was on FD's show. I had my BPM shirt, my Mix What I Like background. You know, that's how you do it, my dude.
I
I think my lip is coughing again. I gotta go.
Stage left even.
Hey, they like, how about BPM? What
I
about
was
him?
like, what is that?
What about him?
Is that a bump? What is that bump?
Oh, you see me on that channel?
Flip 'em.
Hey, let's go ahead and take a quick break. We got a lot of stuff going on in the world. We're gonna come back and talk about right here on the Remix Morning Show. What's good, everybody? What's good, everybody? Welcome out, welcome out, welcome out. Please make sure y'all hit that like button, subscribe button, and all those buttons down there. That means something to us, and that would be sharing, caring, and all that stuff. Go to patreon.com and drop some change on Black Power Media so we can keep this thing going. All right. Also, you could go to I don't even know if our Cash App is ready. We got to make sure with Jordan, make sure we got our Cash App thing going, and I'm going to announce it another time. But right now, let me get into Artist Spotlight. We celebrating 50 years of hip hop. So who did I want to talk about today? No other than Black Sheep. That's right. We're going to talk about Black Sheep. They coming straight out of Queens, New York. We got Drez and we got Mr. Long. They actually was coming out of North Carolina, and they got relocated, but they was part of the Native Tongues Collective. We talk about Jungle Brothers, Tribe Called Quest, De La Soul back in 1989. They came out in 91 with their song Flavor of the Month, and then later they came out with a Wolf in Sheep Clothing. And y'all know what song came out and banged everybody in the head. The Choice Is Yours. Back in 92, that was the joint. You talk about we talk about the club really going crazy. And this right here, what you hear in the back, Strobe Light Honey. So they came out and did their thing. They actually had like 5 albums, 5 studio albums, but after the second one, it didn't really take off the ground too much, and it didn't make no noise, so you didn't hear too much more from them. But I'm hearing right now that Drez is trying to get an album done with Jay Dilla, so we're gonna see how that works out. If the state will even allow this to happen. So with that said, no other than Black Sheep. Big up to these guys right here. Now let's take it back to the Remix Morning Crew. Yeah, you know how we do.
You see your honey by the strobe like black. I hope you got good sight for honey that you see like the Shakespeare soliloquy. May or may not be.
Yeah.
Man, how many samples was in that right there? It was several.
We had, when me and my man Bashi were doing our George Jackson video mixtape, we had a Dilla track that we thought we had been given permission for use by the Dilla Foundation, including his mother. Come to find out that they did not own the track. Some white dude in England contacted us and sent a note that said, I would never let you use this track for that purpose. Because we had said we want to use it for this mixtape, educational, not for sale, And he said, I would never let you use it for that purpose. So the white man blocked us from using a Jay Dilla track on a George Jackson video. So that was interesting. Yeah.
Wow, that's sad.
Nice little lesson about copyright.
Right.
Can they be considered one-hit wonders, basically, though?
No, I would
They
say
got
no.
3. They got 3 hits.
What's the other 2?
Flavor of the Month and Strobe Like Honey, and The Choice Is Yours.
So can they be considered one-hit wonders then? Because nobody else knows those are the 2 songs. So
The Flavor of the Month was a classic. That was the one that brought
Like
it up.
Honey was a jam.
Yeah, that was a jam.
He played
I can't believe this guy's from Brooklyn. I mean, I refuse to accept that. I just can't do it. I mean, we had to check your Brooklyn card.
Nobody listens to any other Black Sheep song.
That's crazy.
Not one.
Oh, come on, why do you do this? Why do you do this?
I'm just trying to, because you need to be honest about it, right? I thought we were all about the honesty. You know, like when you go in your Black Sheep crates and you pulling out 4 or 5 jams from the, you know what I'm saying? So stop playing around. It's like we really hit wonders. It's like one phenomenal song, and no one cares about the rest of the catalog. Let's be honest.
Come out. No,
unless you're their cousin, then you care. You know
they did have 5 albums. Go ahead.
Having an inside perspective from the entertainment industry, as I'm sure you pretty much all of us have had from one corner or another. I am so impressed with an artist's ability to get one forever song. You know what I'm saying? Like, imagine 3. Like, it's hard to be remembered and to put something out that sustains, that people will go back to. Like, because there's a lot of artists out here we've never heard of. They had record deals. They even might have had videos. We don't even talk about who they are, what music they released or whatever. So I think for artists like Black Sheep to have not 1, but 2, but 3 songs still, I think that's impressive.
And come out whenever you hear engine number 9 on that New York Transit line. Your train goes off the track. Pick it up. What the heck on the scene?
Crispy and clean.
Exactly.
Get out of here, man.
Phenomenal.
I got me too hyped, man.
One-hit wonders.
Even my kids know that track.
I'm out of here, man.
Get out.
Kim,
not
have
you.
you ever told? Kim, have you ever told your have you ever done a show or been interviewed about your full career, your actual radio career?
No. No. I sporadically sprinkle in stories when I'm doing my shows from time to time. I had a tiny story yesterday about Gilly the King, Gilly the Kid from $1 Million Worth of Game. I met Gilly, hung out with him a few times when I was an intern at the radio station in Philly. Gilly, cool dude. But I was disappointed in their comments. They released a comment condemning the Barstool Sports president Dave Partnoy for him calling Angel Reese a classless piece of shit. And they were like, we don't rock with that. We don't rock with that. We fuck with you, Dave. We fuck with you, Dave. We love you, Dave. But no, we don't rock with that. And it's like, nigga, which is it? Is it Uchi Wally or is it one mic, gentlemen? Like, what? Anyway.
Is it Black Girl Loss of Shorty owe you for ice? Their economics are always wrong, but that's interesting. I think we should talk about. I think you should be interviewed in full about your career in radio.
Somebody has
I
to
think
ask
that
the
would be
question though.
fascinating.
I'm the kind of
I'm
person
saying
like
we're
you have
gonna. I'm
to
gonna
ask
contact
me.
you. I'm
Like
gonna
I
invite
can't
you
just
on.
come out and talk. Someone has to. I don't know what to even share. So someone would have to be
No, I'm gonna do it.
asking me the
I'm gonna
questions.
do it. I'm gonna be the someone. I'm gonna be the someone.
Oh,
I'm volunteering. I'll be in touch. I think it's long overdue. We need to hear the Kim radio stories.
well, it all
So
began when I made the mixtape for the varsity basketball team at Atherton High School in 1995.
As we get to the news.
And let's slap the map. Yes, y'all. BPM Media be the best, y'all. Don't stress, y'all. Dr. Jared Ball, he's at the wall. He's at the mall with the with the phone call. I can't freestyle. It's terrible. Come out. This is why I never had a rap career because I cannot actually rap.
So now I hear. Now I hear. Now I understand.
Oh, it's terrible. It's
But when
terrible.
you do other people's lyrics, like so somebody wrote, but all I got, I mean, I know there's the other folks are like, you know, you got to write your own, but I think if somebody wrote some lyrics for you and you spruced them up the way you liked them to sound and you relayed those things, you could have been a rap star, at least a one-hit wonder yourself. I think so.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's
I don't think so. But anyway, welcome everybody to the Remix Morning Show. Today is Wednesday, April the 5th. We've got a full house in store for everybody today. Kalanji Jamachanga's in the building. Dr. Jared Ball, Kamau Franklin, Kim Brown, the Air Doctor, and the Remixers, of course.
Wait. Today's April 5th. We gotta make an acknowledgement.
Oh, go ahead.
Today is 167 years since the birth of Booker T. Washington. You know what I'm saying? I know we don't really shout Booker out too much, but Booker T. Washington, born into slavery.
Yeah.
He was an enslaved African. 25 years later, founded the Tuskegee Institute. You know what I'm saying? So wanted to shout out Booker. I know, you know, folks have mixed feelings, but we cannot rewrite history. Thank you.
No, you can't rewrite history. He was an accommodationist Negro. I mean,
respectability politics.
We just gonna do a Black History calendar and it is, you know.
Listen, I mean, we got Negroes on this platform. What do we do?
Hey man, we gonna acknowledge Colin Powell's birthday too. I mean,
we'll call him out then. Don't acknowledge him. Call him out, right?
Hold
call
on.
Out the Negro. Who's a Negro on the platform?
Hold on, good people.
Who's a Negro on the platform? Call him out.
Let's not go there. Let's not go.
You brought it up. You said there's
Early
Negroes on the platform. I didn't know there's no Negroes on the platform personally until just now. Who's the Negro on the platform?
Don't be offended, young man.
Oh, no, I'm not offended because you can't be talking about me. I do my work. So
whatever. What you excited for, homie? You good? Don't cry. It's all good.
Anyway,
shout out to Booker T. Shout out to Booker T. And all others. Now, getting back to the news.
Real quick, I'm actually listening to a podcast called Unreformed, which is about the Alabama Negro boys reformatory known as Mount Meigs. And Booker T is not necessarily played a direct role, but he was a mentor to the woman who founded that institution, Cornelia Bowen. Anyway, but the institution went a long way. Once she turned it or encouraged the state to take over, then the institution's original purpose fell by the wayside. But the sister who made the podcast, Josie Duffy, is it Josie Duffy Rice, the journalist? Anyway, Booker T gets a good dragging in the episodes in which they reference the history of Mount Meg. So just an interesting coincidence.
So I can't put it together fully.
Shout out the man. I don't give a shit about him. You know what I'm saying? I'm just mentioning it. Had a date in my head. Have a nice day. Tomorrow's the day that my man Lil Bobby Hutton was assassinated, making connections. I had another connection I was gonna make with it, but don't worry about it. We here.
But
welcome
I think
to the Remix Morning Show.
For some reason, though, I feel like there's a parallel or an overlap or a similarity between the challenge put recently to Angela Davis and her doubling back or coming back around on Cop City, and what Booker T did not do vis-a-vis lynching. For some reason, I don't know. I don't know. In my head, I'm thinking, because remember at the time, if I remember correctly, Booker T refused to speak out against lynching.
Didn't catch that.
And making an effort, I think, to get Tuskegee supported. If I remember correctly, I might be off on that. And then, so that was always something that he was held against him, was that he didn't do that. And then, so it seemed a necessary correction for Angela to be asked, encouraged, or invited to make, having, so anyway. It was
Which was fantastic what she did. Well, I mean, just to be clear too, like she, if I understand correctly, she didn't know what the crowd was shouting. And I don't know if she knew, I mean, she's 80 years old or whatever, about the issue of Cop City. And then she decided to contact some other folks who got in contact with folks like me. And, she decided that she wanted to do an apology and the rest of it, which I think was fantastic, right? She did an apology, everything we asked her to do, she did. So for this particular issue, all praise is due. Like, she didn't have to do it. She did it, and she did more than what she was even asked to do. So, yes.
It was a perfect tie in to Booker T. Yes. And what do we have happening with the news today, good people?
I don't know.
I honestly don't know. Did Erica hook us up?
I mean, I could talk about some general stories. We do have an update on the story that we talked about here last week about the teenager, the 17-year-old in Washington, D.C., who was shot by U.S. Park Police while he was asleep in his vehicle. The Park Police released the body cam footage. Obviously, we are not going to show that here. But it depicts pretty much what we could assume it depicts, because the facts, as described by the police initially when this happened, maybe a couple of weeks ago, it just didn't, nothing added up. Okay. And usually when that happens, there are lies being told. They're lying. If they're talking, they're lying. So anyway, what the body cam footage depicts is the 17-year-old, is his name Delanio Martin? I might be having the last name wrong, but I know his first name is Delanio. He was asleep behind the wheel with the vehicle running. They said U.S. Park Police and Metropolitan Police in D.C. claimed to ran the tag, showed that the car was allegedly stolen. They looked and saw that the ignition was bust. Separate body cam footage from Metropolitan Police appears to show a senior officer on the scene telling the U.S. Park Police, a senior Metropolitan Police officer telling U.S. Park Police, don't get in the car, because DC police apparently have somewhat of a no chase policy, or they are trained to apparently leave a flight path if someone decides to flee, because makes, I guess, sense for public safety. You just can't be having a high speed vehicle chase through the streets of Washington, D.C. Doesn't make any sense. It's just preposterous. So anyway, so a senior officer was on the scene telling the U.S. Park Police, don't get in the car. Two officers entered the vehicle and startled the teenager, who you can hear him on the video saying, "Get off me." And then he purportedly hits the gas, in which the cop, I mean, within seconds, 15 seconds, 10, 15, 20 seconds, you hear 5 gunshots. And I'm like, you had to shoot him at all, but less of all, 5 times. You can't subdue a 17-year-old from behind the wheel of a car. Like there was so many options available. But obviously, the family has seen the video. The family was allowed to view the video before it was released to the public. They are apparently being represented by Judge Mathis's daughter, Jade Mathis, who was a former PG County prosecutor, who I believe now is rebranding as like a civil rightsy kind of person. But the family is supposed to have a press conference today, where the mother has already released and said in a statement that she wants the name of the officers to be released. She wants them to be fired and prosecuted. So just an update on this situation. It didn't really make national news that the Park Police had murdered this 17-year-old boy in DC, but what we're talking about respectability, you know what I'm saying? A lot of times even some of our people are not even outraged by this police conduct and police brutality, because they'll say, oh, well, he stole a car. What did you think was going to happen? Well, I think we have penalties in place for vehicle theft, and it does not include on-site execution. So anyway, I just want that's a news story that I had in the back of my head, because it was.
I do think these stories are like they're doing stuff now to suppress some of these stories. They're not getting the attention that they did a few years ago. And I think that is something that's happening amongst the national media. I think this obviously it's purposeful, and some things they can't ignore when there's an understanding that's going to be like what happened in Memphis, but then they prepared way in advance for it, right? They made it, they bigged up like prior indictments and firings and statements by the police. And so I definitely think there's a time period now, it's not the same thing, but when you go back into the Panther history of when they decided to stop covering radical Black nationalist movements, that it was inspiring people because they thought like the outcome would be something like the Panthers. I think something similar is starting to happen now, where cases of police violence and police terror on Black people in particular are not being highlighted to the degree they were, because they think that folks will use that as a jumping off point for more uprisings. So I also think that's part of what's happening. So you're right. There's not a lot of national coverage of what is obviously a quote unquote unjustified shooting of another young Black person.
So he's the father of a 5-month-old.
Yes.
Was it proven that he was that the car was stolen, or is that just what they stated?
So that exactly, Kalanji, the criminalization of this shooting victim, this murder victim, is what's being broadcasted. So what they have said is that they ran the plates and the car came back stolen, and they've included the detail that the ignition was busted. But this is the second time that a sleeping Black man behind the wheel of a car has been murdered. And in the last case, I think it happened either late 2020 or 2021. I think the young man's name was Antoine Gilmore. The Metropolitan Police officer who shot and murdered him has actually been charged with second-degree murder, which is somewhat unprecedented. I mean, these DC cops do not get charged by and large with murder historically in the whole history of the department, save maybe one other example. They don't get charged with murdering people while on duty. So I'm hoping that will set some sort of precedent. But again, I mean, even if the cop is fired and put in jail, it doesn't bring the 17-year-old back. Even if the family gets a settlement, they would prefer to have their child. You know what I mean? Like, so it's injustice all around, even if the so-called justice system plays out in a way that is just.
See, I thought you were going to say the other example was the case not that long ago down by Kamau and Kalanji. But of course, we can't even leave Rayshard Brooks. Yeah. We can't even leave the DC area. So I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's so many times. Yeah.
I mean, I can literally, I know of at least 15 cases, not including this, around the country where someone was either sleeping in their car, sleeping in their home, sleeping outside on the sidewalk. You know what I'm saying? So this is the norm. We have to remind folks that it's war. So it's not a surprise, and it's not a surprise that they won't report what's going on with a 17-year-old, and that they continue to criminalize folks who allegedly break in cars. Just a few months ago, you had the 12, 13-year-old young man, child up in DC shot by the city official. The city worker. So this is the norm. It's not, they're literally murdering us from, I would say 8 to 80. But shit, Katherine Johnson was 92. There's another brother out in Tennessee that was like 106 some years back. So there's no love for us. So again, you're not even safe in your own skin. That's the reality of things here.
Indeed. We got anything else news-wise?
Well, I was looking at I think the go ahead. I had pulled up something, but I think if the run sheet is if I'm reading it correctly, which probably not,
which was hilarious.
But I think the dates are a little off. Is that not true? But go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. I feel like the dates on the run sheet are off.
So your man Van Jones is stepping up to the plate to defend.
So that was the one I was pulling up too. So we on the same page.
Yeah, no, this
is that's your man Van Jones, Kamau.
That's not my man Van Jones.
No, I'm just fucking with you, dog.
I'm
Y'all
not
used to
saying.
have blunts
organizer.
back in the
Speaking of
day,
Booker T,
man.
Jackie
Y'all used to-
Lukman.
Oh,
Say,
yo,
Luke,
what's
what's
going
happening?
on?
Can't see
oh,
me.
it is a full.
Can't
Oh,
see
you
me.
can't see me.
Good morning,
That's
Jacqueline.
trifling, Jackie. That's a classless act. How dare you show up here in that classless?
I never
Shameful.
claimed to have any class. That's all right.
Hey, tell them,
This is
Jackie.
mischief.
I love an unclassy broad because I too am an unclassy broad. Good morning, Jackie. How are you?
Good morning. I'm alive.
Oh,
But look,
well, you
it's spring and that's good.
You looking springish too. You got the yellow on. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I
got a
got
little-
to ride. I got to ride shotgun with Jackie yesterday, and she was
Mhm.
making some of y'all jealous. You know what I mean? I ain't gonna name no names.
Come
Names.
now.
Tell them.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
Oh.
Mhm.
What are you doing out in these
This is what
streets?
happens when you abandon me.
What you
I
doing out in these streets, girl?
look. I need
Really?
constant attention. You cannot abandon me like this.
I gotta get me a flight to DC right away. Right away. Paid for by BPM. Then I
Lord.
remember BPM's name.
take it out of Kalonji cut.
Yeah.
What
You
y'all talking
abandoned
about?
me.
What is
Uh-oh.
going on the screen? Lord have mercy.
Love
This
don't live
is
here
real.
anymore.
You got too
Well,
much going
Kamal
on.
was about to enlighten us as to what y'all's favorite house Negro Van Jones has been up to.
I was gonna
don't
say,
let me.
speaking of Booker,
Please go right ahead.
all right, so
Yeah,
let me
we
play
like
this
Booker.
real quick. So obviously, I'm sure y'all talked about, everybody knows Trump has been indicted. Van Jones, excuse me, has a particular take on that we should all understand and think deeply about. So let's play that from the beginning.
He looks sad.
Yeah.
He looks sad. He looks like the weight of it's hitting him. And just as a human being, I don't take joy. I don't like the prison system. I don't like what it does to people. I don't like this process. So I don't take any
Is he gonna
celebration
start
seeing
crying again?
him looking that way. He looks sad. Now, doesn't mean that accountability is not owed. We don't know what he's going to be charged with. There's a lot more, but at that moment, that is not a conqueror. That is a granddad having a very bad day. He looks sad.
A
He
Klansman?
looks sad.
Did he actually?
So,
You know what? Bye.
So that's what we've reduced Trump to, a granddad who just had a really bad day. Amidst this continual white supremacy and right-wing politics, is calling his right-wing Klan, his anti-immigrant politics, and when you strip it all away, he's really just a granddad who had a bad day.
A granddad who apparently paid, or had the National Enquirer pay the former doorman of Trump Tower not to leak a claim about him fathering a child out of wedlock, which the National Enquirer ended up finding out or surmising after they did some investigation that the claim wasn't true, but they paid dude anyway. So I'm not even mad that dude got out with he got 30 grand of their money. I'm not mad. Who paid through the National Enquirer. I can't remember McDougal, Kathleen McDougal, former
Karen?
was it Karen? I'm not sure, but her last name is McDougal, former Playboy model, to not divulge that she had an affair with him before to make sure that didn't come out before the election. And then Michael Cohen, Trump's personal attorney, paid Stormy Daniels $130,000 out his pocket, took out took out $130 from his own home equity line of credit, paid Stormy Daniels, and then Grandpa Donald Trump paid Michael Cohen back in installments. Y'all, I mean, Is it anything? Is this worth doing all of this for to try to bring down Trump and destroy his career? Is it going to work? Is he going to be convicted of any of these things? I don't know. I'm still not
sidetracking.
I still don't think so. But does it matter? Nope. It
You know what
doesn't
I
work
love?
because none of the former presidents who have literally been responsible for murdering millions of people around the world have been ever held accountable for any of the lives they've taken. So whatever
But it
happens
does.
to
I mean, it
Trump,
matters. I mean, not in the sense of seeking justice matters, but in the spectacle of what's happening in this time period in America, where you've never had a major party candidate indicted outside of the White House in terms of actually facing criminal charges. I mean, this opens the door for, like, as soon as Biden gets out of office, bam, you know what I mean? So just the folly of it all, the falling apart of it all in front of our faces, that's the part to me that it definitely is a shift again in a breaking down of the American political system to a degree, which you know, in ways that somebody like me might consider good, but also dangerous times. You know, there will be people out in the street who will be exacting their own versions of revenge and counter revenge and different narratives. You know, right now we have a sort of a tyranny of the establishment, which is deciding to go after folks in different ways. We're not talking about Trump, but protesters here in Atlanta. So I definitely think that this is part of a larger sort of way in which American politics is reshaping itself. And then lastly, you know, so grandpa, again, is sleeping with Playboy bunnies or whatever. You know, I just don't understand how that got left out of the analysis by Van Jones. And then, you know, on the other side too, I'm like, so they're basically sleeping with a water buffalo. This dude looks I mean, I don't understand this. And
An albino water buffalo.
There shouldn't have been any payment on the back end. I'm assuming there had to be another payment up front. I mean, a lot of dinners or something, a lot of wine.
I don't think the U.S. is really concerned about how they look politically, because I know they are tyrants and they are terrorists, and I think they're kind of reverting back to their nature. I think that you know, their attitude for so long has been that I don't give a fuck. Like, look, yeah, I did it. What you gonna do? They have over 800, 900 military bases across the planet. They decimate full countries, and they enact coups, and I mean, they don't even give a damn about the water in Flint. They don't care about the water in Jackson. They don't care about poor people. So I don't even think that's a true concern. In fact, I think it's more of a sidetracking. You know what I'm saying? I think that right now it's like, look, this is a mockery of justice. The fact that he didn't even get handcuffed, the fact that they refused to give him a mugshot. You understand what I'm saying? His arrest was just walk in here, slap a couple folks 5, talk that shit you talk, and we're gonna escort you out with Secret Service, and we're gonna make the whole world think that we've done something. And in fact, we didn't even slap you on your wrist because we didn't want to disrespect you by slapping you on your wrist. We're not even going to disrespect you by leading you in with handcuffs. You're going to go in there, have a meeting, and you could talk about what else is going on. And I think the thing that I do like about Van Jones is the fact that he's an example of how our movement is. You know what I'm saying? You will use us, you will step on our backs and step on our heads and step on our shoulders to get to where you need to get to. And when you get on, in the words of Kanye West, leave your ass for a white girl. You understand what I'm saying? And that's pretty much the whole thing. So I think Van Jones should be studied because of the fact that he is what happened when there's no accountability. He is what happened when there's liberalism on the table. You understand what I'm saying? Because of the fact that if he was in any other society, when you're talking about revolution, someone like that wouldn't have made it far. I'll leave it at that.
Did you all cross paths with him back in the day? Before,
I did.
Did you all have experience with him? Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, no, I knew Graham. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I know Van Jones from law school time. So I knew him when he went from a black nationalist with the December 12th movement briefly to a open communist. You know, and after he started the Ella Baker Center, we brought part of that project was brought to New York through several different organizations. excuse me, where there were clashes right away. I worked at the Ella Baker Center when we had a New York police watch for about a year. That's what I lasted. Then I decided to go into private practice. We had some definitely, some tense moments. I got a personal cry moment from him, which I kind of rolled my eyes at as like, oh God, here we go. So, we're not like, I just think this is a guy who has, I think as the story goes, who's been ambitious since the start. If I give him credit for anything, I give him credit for the ambition and figuring, in doing that, right? But what what I agree with Kalanji on slightly is the idea that this person put themselves in a particular position using movement politics, saying that they were one thing and then another thing, and slowly started to shed away those skins, particularly as the money got bigger. And now the money is huge, right? Now we're talking about people who are giving him literally $100 million to do what he wants with, right? Now we're talking about the owner of the Patriots, right? Another Trump supporter giving him money to start different so-called police reform organizations. Wow. So Van Jones is completely, he might be the modern day Booker T. We might have to shout him out in a few years after his passing or something. Booker T. But that's the kind of thing, like this dude, if he does make the case for what happens when people, again, he's not the only one, he's not the first one, but he's probably the one who's had the most spectacular rise in modern history. He's out Sharpton. He's out Jesse. You know what I mean? He's out Black Lives Matter. In fact, he's actually become the new mentor for those that followed after him in terms of what it means to say, hey, you can have some so-called progressive politics, but still I can get you put on, right? I can get you put on to a lot of resources and wealth. Just don't go too far with it, or just backtrack a little bit here, or you can use the words in this context. So that's for me is like the story of a Van Jones.
The interesting thing about this whole debacle is, as far as Grandpa is concerned, is that even if he's convicted, he can actually run for president again, and he actually will. And he will. Mm-hmm. This is the weird part of this that I it's interesting that I'm not hearing this part of the analysis, that if the goal is to get Trump on anything, something to move him out of the way, to remove him from American politics, the way the Constitution is written in regard to who can run for president, a convicted felon can run for president as long as he has not been, or he or she has not been elected already twice before. That's really interesting in a country where in at least 48 states, if you're a convicted felon, you can't vote. But Trump could run for president. So literally he could run for president and legally not be allowed to vote for himself. Like, that is the level of ridiculousness that is hilarious. And for me,
so you can be president with a felony, but you can't vote for president with a felony.
Exactly.
Wow.
And
so he can't get that moment where he goes to the polls, and if he gets convicted, he goes to the polls and shows himself voting, because then he can't.
But that's sort of like the Kevin Johnson situation. His daughter was 19. She couldn't visit him or go see him be executed because they said he was too young, but he was sentenced to death at age 19. You know what I'm saying? So we can kill you at 19, but there's no visiting rights at 19. You know what I'm saying? So this is just, the U.S., the contradictions behind this shit is so blatantly disgusting that I'm really surprised that we even, I don't know. We got to figure out how to even turn your back to this, because all it is, again, how does it lead? Ultimately, the question for everything that's going on and everything we're talking about today, how does it lead to revolution? You know what I'm saying? Van Jones is not going to get us towards revolution. You know what I'm saying? And none of these other folks, even the whole Trump arrest thing, they already told us out the gate, look, he won't do any time. It is a, Class E felony? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And you're talking about, you have like 30 something charges, and they're telling you that no one gets any time on the first offense. They straight up told you they made it a felony to make you feel good, to make it more entertaining. But I mean, hey man, you know, we got
It's
time.
just going to get him elected. It's going to give him a boost. I would make that part of
Absolutely.
my
It's a
campaign.
promo.
Put the
Of course, he's
first
already fundraised
felony
millions
president.
of dollars off of this. Like the Trump campaign said that they raised $4 million within the first 24 hours of the news of the indictment being broadcast. And it just looks as though, because it's obvious, right? What Trump being indicted is going to embolden his base. It's given him a temporary boost polling wise, according to whoever's polling you want to, give some credibility to. But and it's going to likely make him the Republican nominee. Now, I would think people who are in charge of the situation could look at that and see very obviously that is what this is going to do. So I can only assume that this is the intention, right? The intention is to center Donald Trump once again in the solar system of American politics, to make him the focal point. And Joe Biden can just do whatever the fuck he wants to do right now, because there's nobody paying attention to the Biden administration. Everything is going to be about Trump from here until the trial, and then even beyond to election day, November of 2024. So I can only assume this was the intention, to make this specific dynamic, this attention dynamic, in this way. Because why else would you do this? You know what I'm saying?
I think these are the establishment parties attacking each other in a way in which they haven't done in an extremely long time. So that's why I think this is pivotal in terms of the breaking apart. I mean, this is not like the establishment party is going to a room and saying, you know what, we're going to indict you, Trump, and Joe, you take that as the lead to do such and such. These and whether or not they're making their right calculations or whatever, but this is the Democrats, and I agree, they're doing what they did before, is they're giving Trump this platform, thinking that this leads to the downfall of the Republican Party, and proving themselves wrong once again. Because as opposed to that, it just basically sort of gives them all this new energy. And Trump left. It's not like Trump is some wilting violet. Trump doesn't go away in shame because he gets busted doing something. That's not it. That's not who Trump is. But these Democrats think they think they're going to put this pressure on. But again, they've also opened up the door to where now these Republicans who ain't scared to go there either about, there's like 50 states with state prosecutors. Mm-hmm. What's going to happen? They're going to start prosecuting all this other stuff. Folks used to talk the thing about, lock her up. And again, I'm not saying I'm mad at it, but they always stopped at a certain point, right? Mm-hmm. When folks talked about lock Bush up, he's committed war crimes. No Democratic administration in terms of state prosecutors and, or of course, federal prosecutors ever seriously considered prosecuting him. No one considered prosecuting Hillary for her crimes against the state and invading Libya and other things like that. No one really considered prosecuting Obama, right? But they've now crossed a rubric, a line, where they've opened the door to them doing just that. And again, I think it does have ramifications for how you organize, what's taking place in the country, the attacking of the establishment parties, what rises out of it, what collapses under it. So I do think it's worthy of examination and conversation in terms of what it means, for what's happening on the ground. Because this is unprecedented time period for, again, a former president to be indicted, whether that person goes to jail or not, whether or not that person actually even goes to a jury trial or whatever. But the fact that they've indicted them, they've opened the door. And to some other stuff that's going to happen, there's going to be ramifications, as there always are.
What's the latest about what's happening down there in Georgia, Kamal? Because to me, that seems like the most serious thing that potentially Trump could get got on, and that's trying to sway who was at the Secretary of State in Georgia to find. Every time they play the clip of the phone call.
But dude is, what I mean is, like, we look at the impeachments, right? So
he's been impeached.
Clinton's been impeached. Mm-hmm. Trump's been impeached. What, twice? Mm-hmm. And what did it mean?
Nothing.
That's the whole thing. Clinton went and took over Harlem. You know what I'm saying, with gentrification. Oh, wow. You know what I'm saying? I mean, to me, it's like, again, these slaps on the wrist. I get the whole fact that they're saying he's arrested, but the only real thing that qualifies him as being arrested is in name. He's been arrested. You understand what I'm saying? I've never been arrested like he's been arrested. Even for jaywalking, I got a mugshot. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
but you ain't no white billionaire. I mean,
Right.
you're not the white billionaire former president of the country. So
You're
of
not
course
old,
he's not going to get arrested the
hair,
same way.
flesh
White
bag.
billionaires run the country, though. That's
Yeah.
the thing. I
But
mean,
the fact that the Democrats have gone as far as to do this indictment again opens up the door to some other things. It definitely does, because you just have not had this before. And so there's no limits on what they'll do in terms of their exercise of their individual power. And for not because they believe in quote unquote justice, because they want publicity, or because they think it's going to mean something for their own careers, or because they want to be the one who said they bagged Trump. I mean, that's even in Georgia, right? I think I think there might be a second indictment right here in Georgia around that particular episode of trying to get votes or whatever. But don't misunderstand. Like it's not about hey, this is going to bring justice. This is what's going to keep me power, bring up my individual street cred as a prosecutor, let me run for future office. And again, I do think there's conversations amongst Democrats of like, hey, so we do this to this one, they get knocked out the box, and then if we could focus on this, or it'll cause such a infighting on them figuring out if they're going to support them or not support them, that somehow this helps out our side. But we'll see what happens, because Trump don't back down from that. And like y'all said, it's not like he's not going to run for president. He was already running, and now he's got more attention on him. He's loving it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think for me, the implications that I think people are the people who are celebrating this, I think what they're missing is that Trump still has a very solid, very committed, yes, cult-like and maybe even unhinged base, but he does. And I think what these people do in response to whatever happens to Trump, right? If he's convicted, I mean, first, a trial date has to be set. God knows how long that's going to take. The judge could drag this thing out for years, or it could happen next week. Who knows? Because the idea that the presiding judge is going to handle this case without some type of political bias, cut that out. All of this is politically motivated. But my concern is what Trump's supporters will do. And obviously, because look at how far they went on January 6th. I don't have any reservations in believing that if he is convicted, then there will be a response. But I also don't disbelieve that if he's not convicted and he runs for office again, and maybe he loses, which I actually don't think that would happen if he runs for office again, then we'd have another kind of response from them. So no matter what happens to Trump in this particular trial, my concern is what his supporters will do. And I'm only concerned about that because I don't think people are taking into account that those folks are not at all like cowed, or they're not embarrassed by him. They're not ashamed of Trump. They're not like, they don't have buyer's remorse, from supporting this guy and the things that they did just on January 6th, a couple year 2020, in on his behalf. And I think this period of time very much reflects the reality of the kind of country this has always been. This is almost, maybe not entirely a one-to-one correlation, but this is almost like, I think, the reconciliation period at the end of Reconstruction, after the white supremacists violently responded to Reconstruction efforts after the Civil War, because they didn't want to be governed by Black folks. They didn't want Black folks to have any rights. They were mad that they didn't have enslaved Africans to push around anymore, and they weren't taking it from those people. So across the country, white supremacists organized and violently destroyed Reconstruction governments in the South. And the fact that we have never in this country been taught the history of the Reconstruction period and the reconciliation era, this entire effort to kind of remake the legacy of that war, to sanitize what the Confederacy was and why people fought the war, That was a whole effort in this country. And the fact that people are not taking Trump's supporters seriously now, I think is almost a reflection of the fact that we are ignorant about the history of this country, that these folks are absolutely operating out of. So that's my focus. To whatever happens to Trump, happens to Trump. Our problem is going to be his supporters. How are we going to deal with them?
This is classic European domination. That's how they've done all across the planet for centuries. And that's the thing that's crazy. Like you said, it's like we're looking at events. We're an event-driven people, right? So we only see what's in front of us. We don't look and we don't take it from a holistic perspective. We're saying, okay, boom, today this happened. We're not saying what brought it to this. You know what I'm saying? Did it just happen with Trump? Is Trump some type of anomaly? Did he come along and say, look, I'm going to be the first racist president to come along? I mean, shit, damn near a dozen of them owned slaves or owned Africans, enslaved Africans. I mean, that is the founding, quote unquote, founding fathers of this country. We're looking at the world, at world history. We're talking about World War I and World War II, where they killed more people than any time in the history of the goddamn planet. In fell swoops, they dropped nuclear bombs on men, women, and children. You know what I'm saying? Animals, plants, everything. They killed almost more than a quarter of a million people just in Japan alone in one war. So we're acting surprised when these barbarians are climbing up a goddamn wall. I mean, shit, you know, that's what they do. You know what I mean? So, you know, we're not surprised at this, but I don't think they feel no shame though. I think that they may play it off. I think at one point, like I remember being younger, older black folks would be like, man, don't let this, man, don't act crazy in front of them white folks, as if they had some type of morality, as if they had some type of humaneness about themselves. You know what I'm saying? We got to look at this thing in realistically. We're talking all this Democratic Republican shit as if it's not a facade. You know what I'm saying? You know, the Dixiecrat, the Democrat, the Republican, all the same shit. We know this. Anyway, I'm sorry, but I'm just ranting about white folks.
No, it's all good. Chris Rock said he was raised properly, so he knows better than to argue in front of the white folks.
Oh my gosh.
That's
Yeah, but he
important
lets all of
lesson.
his white buddies use the N-word all in front of him. He just yuck it up. Yuck, 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 yuck. Oh, Louis C.K., you're so funny when you're using racial slurs freely in front of me. What a fucking pussy. Sorry, excuse my language. But anyway, aren't we overdue for an ear doctor break? The ear doctor abandon us or what happened?
No,
He
he's right there.
abandoned me. Love don't live here anymore. Hey, yo, y'all forgetting, man. Listen, Tupac got arrested, Biggie got arrested, Jesus got arrested. You ain't hear that lady talking about Trump, comparing Trump to Biggie, Tupac?
Yeah. She did. I got to see that.
Who was the ass in that procession? If Trump is like Jesus, who the ass?
I was like, word, that's who you comparing him to? Wow.
Because we know Biggie and Tupac got assassinated.
Facts. Let's talk about it. All right, with that said, let's go ahead and take a quick break right here on the Remix Morning Show. That's right, y'all. Y'all tuned into the Boom Bap Breakfast, getting it. I hope y'all getting full what we got right here to offer y'all. Make sure y'all hit that like button and subscribe button if you haven't already, and make sure you tell a friend this is what it is. Share it and let other people know. Yo, you want to hear some good radical news mixed with hip hop, mixed with political jargon and all that stuff? Come right here. Black Power Media. All right, so what we're going to do right now is we're going to keep it with this hip hop 50 years celebrating. I want to talk about another group. Can I do that? Let's give y'all a little hint right here. But I'm going to talk about no other than Masters of Ceremony. Yes. Masters of Ceremony. Talking about a group count in the 80s. Masters of Ceremony is another word for MC, for those who do not know what that word means. They wasn't real big outside of New York. It was pretty much local, but you had a group coming out of New Rochelle, New York, with Grand Puba Maxwell. You had Doctor Who and DJ Shabazz. They got signed to Strong City, which was co-founded by Africa Bombata and DJ Jazzy J in 1985. they came out with their debut single "Crime," and later came out with in 1986 with their song "Sexy," as you can hear back here in the background, and "Cracked Out." And they was both produced by Jazzy J. Now, after that, in '88, they came out with "Dynamite," which was another album in '88, as you can see this cover right here. This had a song called "Master Move," and it did its thing a little bit. But after that, Grand Puba he couldn't deal with him no more, and he picked up no other than Brand Nubians. We're talking about Sadat X and Lord Jamal. So big up to Masters of Ceremonies, and big up to Grand Puba and Brand Nubians and the whole crew. With that said, let's go ahead and get back to no other than my crew right here on the Remix Morning Show. Let's go.
Her hair was so naughty that Wilson couldn't dish it. You know what she said to him? You never guess. She said, with her nasty bag of breath, so you got upset because we snapped on your friend.
Yeah.
Are
All
you
right.
all? I heard the Africa Bambaataa reference. Are you all following the latest with the Hip Hop Museum and all of that?
Bring us up to speed. What's the news?
I'm waiting to hear. Honestly, I'm waiting to hear back from Minister Server and Paradise Gray, who I think wanted to add some balance to the discussion I had with Rosa Clemente recently about the museum and the protests that happened this week in New York, protesting the involvement and the praise to people like Bambaataa and others who have been accused by a number of people of all kinds of horrific crimes, and people feeling like that they should not be being venerated in this way.
My thoughts on that, like I said before, he should be in the story, but just not honored. Like, he could be written, the story could be written, he did this, that, and the third, but as in honoring him with a trophy and being like, I could see that not being done, but you can't take him out the story. It's a vital
I think
part.
that's fair.
Yeah.
I actually don't have an issue with that.
Yeah, I think that makes
and
sense.
We've interviewed Rocky Bucano, the founder of the Hip Hop Museum. We interviewed Paradise Gray and Pete Nice on Renegade Culture all together when they were talking about launching the Hip Hop Museum. I think that indeed, I agree with what the Air Doctor was saying. We can't rewrite history. That's what Europeans do. That's what crackers do. You can't just take a mug out just because you don't like him. You can point out what happened. We don't have to celebrate him. But at the same time, you can't rewrite history. And I see that being done all the time, particularly in movement. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times in movement circles, folks will be on some, well, I don't like this one, or I don't like that one, so let's just skip this chapter as if this didn't happen. You know what I'm saying? And that's bullshit. You know what I mean? So, but I am against, I do know some folks who are higher ranking in the Zulu Nation. I'm not attacking the Zulu Nation. If I do have a problem with Bambaataa based on what I heard, you know what I'm saying? And I think that when we talk about charges, I don't think he should be allowed to come around anywhere. And I think that the people themselves should deal with him if in fact that, he's guilty of what they say he is.
All right. Well,
I think I also have a problem with the museum, just separately. Like I'm not for all these museums either. I get we want to pay tribute to the history, but I always feel like it's being done to give an undue credit to what has happened as a result of that history, as opposed to what has been masked underneath the presentation of the history. And it always feels like this is what happens to movements and people who have been crushed. They get put into the colonizers' museums as like a trophy, and that's what I feel like when I hear about all these museums for hip hop and Black people, and I'm like, but the people are not good. So what the hell do we want a museum for? But anyway, that's
I think they should
corporate sponsorship. That's what they went to museum for.
Yeah, they should definitely honor the people in some way. Some of these pioneers who put in the work create hip hop. So
Sure.
if it would be great if there was a way to honor them. I know at one point they were talking about trying to provide some type of insurance and healthcare,
Yeah.
because a lot of these pioneers, literally they've taken their work, they've sampled them, they created certain styles and so on and so forth. And for folks like us that grew up in the tri-state area in particular, I think that for so long there was no hip hop on the radio. You know what I'm saying? So you knew certain people that was coming through your town, through skating rinks and all that type of stuff. And they were performing based off of word of mouth or some mixtapes, so on and so forth. And I can recall when there was only hip hop on Fridays and Saturday nights from like 9 to 12 or 9 or 8 to 11 or something like that. And it was Kiss FM, BLS, what was
Mr.
that?
Magic.
WKTU. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Folks like Red Alert and all that. But there was, even before all that, there was a good 5, 6, 7 years prior where hip hop was already the voice of the street. You know what I'm saying? We were already having block parties. I remember my brother's crew, they'd be plugging stuff into the basketball court, street lights and all that type stuff. And we'd have good times, man. It was like love. It was just beautiful. But to see where it's going right now, I don't knock it because all things evolve. I think that, your assessment of hip hop and movement is the same with the movement. There's so many people that are unsung heroes. And then you have folks who are making millions, touring and shit when people are still languishing in prisons. There's people who can't afford to eat. There are a lot of folks who are homeless, so on and so forth, that really put in a lot of work and have been, to a great extent, ignored. So I guess that's the balance right there for me.
All right. Well, let me go ahead and get up out of here. But yesterday, did y'all see Jackie deadlifting?
Right, baby. No,
I did see that.
bodyguard.
Jackie was deadlifting
I
weights.
told you.
I
Is
just
there
want to
video?
show.
Now.
Is there
I
video?
don't- We got a picture, but I just want to show you a picture of me deadlifting back in the
Oh,
day.
no.
That's
What is that coming out of your head? What is
those are locks. Those are locks. Come on now, Jersey represent. Stop playing.
Yo, I didn't even know you knew Magic Johnson.
And I feel like they were running with somebody else's equipment.
That's what it looked like.
You
Yeah,
bugging.
yeah.
Yo, we just got finished rocking the party and getting
Drugs
out of
was in that
we-
box.
and
Drugs
getting out of a fight, actually.
getting out of
was
the
drugs.
Nah, yo, my man got blood on his pants at the bottom. We just fought this dude that disrespected this sister at a party. So
Was that
yeah,
the
You was fighting
lockbox
too?
on the party that y'all
You was
told
fighting the
Dr. Money?
doctor?
yeah.
You was fighting. Good for you. I appreciate that.
No, he
Thank you.
wasn't.
Big ups for
David
that.
Dog
No,
was
he
fighting.
wasn't.
Hey,
He's already
was
said he's
fighting.
never been in a fight.
I mean, not in a
Well, they had
one
one
on not
fight.
in a one-on-one.
Oh, you jumping cats.
Oh, you right.
I've stopped some people out for my people.
Shady jump
You
squad.
all.
Oh my God.
We was mob deep, son. It's just how it is. You don't step up. You don't step up
Just
in my
suckers.
party and then disrespect a female like that and not get washed. You had to wash you.
You was pretty clean though. You talking about my man? Hey, Doc, like my man had blood on his shorts. What you had in
Yeah.
your shorts, man?
Hey, I had some on my shoes.
Appreciate
Hey, listen. Let me get before I get in trouble, man. I'll be out of here, man. I'll check y'all later.
One love. One love. One
Jared,
love.
Jared. I mean, what's going on, man? You just still in the doctors? I mean, what's going?
You got that button down
What
on you. That's what really makes you look
Right,
sick
you
with
got
that button down.
Picture of the digestive tract behind you.
They just left you in there, and they didn't come and check on you.
So the way the test works, so this is a little bit different. So the first breath test, it's every 20 minutes you drink a solution, and then every 20 minutes they bring in a syringe and a bag you blow into, and they capture your breath and then take it to be tested. So this test
Is that why you
every
keep popping
hour.
off the screen?
Yeah, so every hour they
You got
come
the
in.
bubblies.
So I just have to sit here. I can't eat, I can't drink, cannot smoke, cannot do anything, and just have to sit here. And then she'll be back in another 47 minutes, and I have to breathe again, and then they come back and do it one more time, and then I'm done. So it's easy. It's just time consuming and a challenge to fast yesterday, and then to not have my morning coffee. And you can't even brush your teeth with toothpaste. So it's like a whole, you gotta, and then, so at 11, a little after 11 o'clock, I will go get myself right. and then move on for the rest of it. But
Going
that's
in.
it. So that's it. Yeah.
Well,
And
a little
then,
better,
and then
Doc.
in a couple of weeks, yeah, that's it. Yeah. Well,
But you're not
and then in
ill.
a
You're
couple
just
weeks, I
getting
have
tested for stuff. You just. I'm
no.
sorry.
I
I'm
mean,
on
I
you.
have no. It's there's an undiagnosed, I think, relatively minor issue with my digestive situation that we can't figure out what it is yet. So, knock on wood, nothing serious, but you know, just I do have Barrett's esophagus. For people who want to look that up, it's a relatively minor with a small percentage chance of a possible worsening condition that involves reflux and stuff like that. But it's not that. So now that I'm over 50 and I'm on the black man track, I got to be in here routinely for the rest of my life, every couple years for the rest of my life, so this is just a run up to the next colonoscopy and endoscopy in a couple weeks. So
this is great. What morning show can you all check out when you can see Dr. Jared Ball at the doctor's talking about what's going on with his bowels? This is very necessary, ladies and gentlemen. You find out in real time that Dr. Ball is full of so you know what I'm saying? We're happy to have you here, brother, and we're glad that you were able to tap in.
And I'm happy to have you all here because otherwise, because you can't fall asleep either. So sometimes if I have to sit here and just read, I'll start to nod off. So yeah, we're all benefiting each other this morning. So thank you all very much. Yes.
Wonderful. Well, welcome everybody. Remixers, we certainly appreciate you guys being here. Please give us a like, give us a thumbs up on the video so YouTube can recognize the greatness of this platform and recommend us to the broader YouTube streets and broader YouTube community, because I think everybody benefits from the information and the things that are presented here on Black Power Media. So thank you all for your subscriptions. We appreciate your memberships. We appreciate your super chats. I'm Kim. There's Jared, Kamal, Jackie, Kalanji. We deep in here today. Big up to the ear doctor. Kamal, I sent you a story, y'all. I didn't even notice until just now that the Chicago mayoral race has concluded and the brother won. Mr. Brandon.
Everybody listened to Diallo. And did what Diallo told everybody to do, and they went out and voted for
another Brandon. Another black man named Brandon.
Let's see.
Brandon's is deep out here. I sent Chicago,
you how the heck are you?
Yeah, this is it. This is what you sent, Kim.
To the Chicagoans who did not vote for me. Here's what I want you to know. That I care about you. I value you. And I want to hear from you. I want to work with you. And I'll be the mayor for you too. Yes! Because this campaign has always been about building a better, stronger, safer Chicago for all the people of Chicago. Chicago, how the heck are you?
All right. There we go. Now let's hope that Mayor-elect Johnson, doesn't all of a sudden propose a new increase to the budget of the Chicago Police Department, because we cannot trust the elected respectable class, unfortunately. But this brother seems to have some good grassroots bona fides, a former public school teacher, etc. I don't know what Diallo said about him there, Jared. So James in the chat, what's going on, James? Y'all happy? I guess what was the alternative? I guess he's better than the alternative.
Just real quick, he already making me nervous. Can't somebody just come up and say, for those who didn't support me, your ideas will not be implemented. You voted for some billionaire, some capitalist style politics. This, if I win you over, it's because you come over to my politics. I'm not coming to yours. You know what I mean? Like, I know they do the whole, like, I'm the mayor for the whole city, all that kind of like standard rhetoric or whatever to make it seem like, but I want somebody one day just to stand up and be like, I'm here to support, and like a Trump would do. I'm here to
Amen.
support the constituents who voted for me, and they wanted these policies enacted, and that's how we're going to move forward. And I hope other people understand and let it happen and whatever. But this is our chance to implement our style of politics or whatever. Just a little. They got to go crazy.
So Kamal wants me as his chief of staff, his campaign manager, because that's what I would have been saying. Go up there and tell him to kiss your ass.
Hey,
That's
man,
what you get for not voting for me.
Never trust a black man that gets up and stands up in Chicago in front of the audience and says, "How the heck are you? How the heck are you?" That's trouble right now. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's going all downhill from there. You know what I mean? So you think that a black man gonna stand up telling him, "How the heck are you?" and he's gonna save you? You got another thing coming. Folks are gonna be
Kamal,
begging
tell
for
Caleb to plug your mic
Shirley
back in
Lightfoot.
too, by the way. Yeah, my bad.
I mean, if people have been paying attention to his campaign, and I have for a little bit, look, he already steered his campaign toward a middle Democratic, moderate kind of messaging. Even though, you know, he touted his progressive bona fides, and he actually said in a video that surfaced, which of course his opponents tried to use against him, that he described defunding the police as an actual real political goal. But he began responding to that criticism by saying that he would not defund the police if he were elected, but he would fund a more holistic approach to public safety.
What does that
Look, I'm
different police union is what he's saying.
Just real quick, Rashad, this is not live. We pre-taped this before today.
We're chat GPT bots and
Hey,
AI.
Rashad, how the heck
I
are
don't know
you?
what the heck that means. But I mean, look, I'm willing to give the guy a minute to see what he's really going to do with this progressive platform of his. But I already don't trust him.
Yeah,
I'm already looking at him sideways.
He's pro-Israel, Jackie. You know what I'm saying? I can
Is
tell you
he?
this now. It's a wrap. You know what I'm saying? All that smooth
Never
talking.
mind. Screw him.
You're not standing up in Chicago
Mm-mm.
in 2023 and not giving them a piece of the pie. You got to remember that this is the place that Rahm Emanuel stepped down from the White House to become mayor of. Chicago is the most organized, structured criminal enterprise in the country. Chicago politics matter. That's why they call it the Windy City. They didn't call it the Windy City because it was cold. They call it because of its politics. When you got folks like the Daley regime that came through there, you know what I mean? You can cancel your plans. You know, so if we think that this black dude standing up talking about how the heck are you is gonna make some change for black folks in Chicago, got another thing.
But see, but this is where the whole purpose of electoral politics, like in the ways that we are able to hopefully use it and leverage it to get the things that we want. It's like we are in a no-win situation. Like I would love for him to defund the police. I hate to see that he backed away from that and was forced to politically. But it's like, on the other hand, look at who his opponent was. You know what I'm saying? Like we never have any winners. We never have any good options. It's always the lesser of the two evils. And we can only hope that, you know, the black misleadership class, does some principled things here and there. But I mean, I know we have very low expectations, especially coming off of Lori Lightfoot's tenure as mayor, where she gave the CPD all the COVID money and made things very difficult for the Chicago teachers, amongst other things. But it's like, what are our options when it comes to voting?
But see, this is the part of the voting conversation that I keep having with folks, and people really need to get this. If you want to keep voting, and this is not directed at any particular individual, but anybody who still has any kind of investment in this electoral system, particularly at the local level, you cannot just vote for a mayor and think that's going to solve your problems. If you are going to invest any kind of effort in the electoral system on a local level, you damn well better be running candidates from the bottom up for school board, for tax collector. If your judges are elected, you need to be running judges. prosecutors, fuck them, because there's no such thing as a progressive prosecutor. Every office, every recorder of deeds, every office that is elected, progressives, radicals need to be running grassroots candidates for those elections, because the mayor, and really seriously with this police issue, if people are not willing to take on the police unions in these states, then I don't care who the mayor is. I don't care if the mayor comes in and actually does defund the police. The pig's still gonna kill people and get away with it, because that is the role of the police union, to provide political legal cover for the pigs to break the law in enforcing protection of capital. So I'm not sure how we get people to understand that electoral politics, while it is a tool in the revolutionary toolkit, if you do it wrong, if you approach it half-assed, if you only do a little bit of it, if you only vote for the highest office in your, in the office that you think has the most power, you're going to end up with these progressive-ish politicians who really don't have any power, because you haven't built the infrastructure underneath them that they need to enact your policies. And after how many years of since Obama, after what is it, more than a decade now, of the right-wing takeover of the very local structures that I just mentioned, school boards, the tax collector's office, recorder of deeds, dog catcher. These people ran grassroots campaigns and put their candidates in every elected office that they could. And eventually those people rose up in the ranks and ended up being lieutenant governor, mayor, chair of the city council. And the next thing you know, they're in fucking Congress.
That's why we need community control of public safety. Because no one, I mean, the whole notion of defund the police, we already know that that's BS. You're not defunding the police in the police state. We already know that. I mean, that's the most ridiculous shit. That's like thinking that you're going to fund a nonprofit to fight white supremacy. That's not the nature of it. That's not what it's built for. You know what I'm saying? We get confused and we can think, we get caught up in this whole empty rhetoric and the sloganeering and everything. It's like, oh yeah, let's do this, let's say that, and it's just a bunch of, it's emptiness. It's futile. So until we figure out how to commandeer this thing, and like I said, take control of take community control, making sure that we are in charge, that we are electing everything. If you're quote unquote paying taxes, then you should have a stake at every single level, from, like you said, city council and school board, all the way to the police department. You know what I'm saying? Like the brother was saying, fire the police chiefs. Let's get rid of police chiefs. Let's form boards. Have them hire the police. You know what I'm saying? That's why the whole decentralization thing is a win. That's a plus. That is what we need. We're like running around in circles pretending that we're going to advance. The unfortunate thing about it is we have a history of being oppressed in this country. And we keep praying and hoping and wishing that the next Negro that sits in that seat is going to have our best interests at heart. That's a sad situation right there. That's a sad situation. It's like, I don't know, man. I hate to say it, but it's like like we have battered housewife syndrome. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The same shit keeps happening, and you thinking, well, today I'm gonna cook his favorite meal, so he's not gonna be as violent as he's been. You know what I'm saying? Today I'm gonna give him flowers. That's how we are as quote unquote citizens in this particular country. It is a hopeless situation until we change the system itself. The individual means nothing. It means nothing. The menu will always be the same. You can have Chef Jared Ball in there, but what's on the menu is what's on the menu. If Big Macs is on the menu, that's what he's cooking. I know he likes cordon bleu, but that shit don't work over here. You know what I mean? So we have to figure out, how do we change the system itself? And if not, then we're going to keep having these combos over and over and over and over as long as we're on this platform and beyond, because they're going to let us down every time. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this is the reality of it. And folks who are quote unquote in position of leadership, like I said yesterday, liberalism kills. Liberalism is the number one tool used by our enemy against us, our own liberalism. You know what I'm saying? We make excuses for BS. We can no longer do that if we're serious.
Well,
but if we're not, we can just keep rapping.
The good news is we have a bearer of good news waiting to come back.
Oh.
The Lord ear doctor.
So
the Lord.
The right Reverend Lord. Yes.
Young Moonhead. All right.
Hey.
He's back.
Hey, I'm just gonna do a real quick one because I like what y'all talking about, and I definitely want to hear about this whole U.S. dollar thing. I want.
I gotta bounce, good people. Love y'all. Appreciate y'all. Stay strong. Remix Morning Show. Till next time.
Peace.
All right. With that exit right there, I'm gonna go ahead and make sure we all exit the scene right here on the Remix Morning Show. All right. Welcome out to the Remix Morning Show real quick as we do another quick break, a musical break, artist spotlight right here. And actually, we was talking about one-hit wonders. I got a one-hit wonder for you right here. No other than Fonda Ray. That's right. Y'all know anything about Fonda Ray? Some of y'all do, some of y'all don't, but y'all do know about this song right here. Fonda Ray Wood. That's what her name is. She's an R&B singer known for this song right here, Over Like a Fat Rat. That's right. She came out with this and hit him in the head. This was in 1982. What y'all know about 82? In 84, she came out with another song, Touch Me. But this right here was that hip hop R&B joint right here that you played at the dance right here. Yeah, she also worked with people like Kid Creole, the Fat Boys, and Debbie Harry. So she's been around for a while, but like I said, she's been sampled. A lot of people use this sample, talk about R&B and Rakim use it. SWV, Master P even used this sample, and Kool G Rap, and De La Soul, Keeping the Faith. Come on, man. Big up to this song right here. Big up to a one-hit wonder, no other than Fonda Ray. All right, with that said, let's go and get back to the crew. You know how we do. Sing it, y'all.
You'll get over like a fat rat. That song was the jam, son. Who don't remember that?
I do not remember that. I'm sorry.
What year was this, your doctor?
It was 82. I was in high school. I don't remember
that at all.
Man, hey, you know that was a Latin Quarters New York anthem, like Colonel Abrams. You know what I'm saying? Like certain songs ain't go that far. But come on, man.
But it was New York, so that's far enough. You know what I'm saying? Don't need to go no farther than that.
Let me stop.
Don't get it.
It's a classic. It's a classic.
I know Jared know about that.
Oh.
Wow.
It's like I'm just playing. No,
you don't know.
No,
my God.
I missed it. I had to step out. I didn't even hear what was happening, so I missed the whole thing.
You remember this song?
But all these pressures can get the best of me.
Over like a fat rat. Get over.
Y'all not. If I'm not hip hop, y'all not black. You know
that's regional. They not black.
Yeah,
I guess that's
black.
regional.
It had to be regional. I don't. It doesn't.
It was New York. That means it's international. It's not regional. It was New York.
That's what y'all think.
I don't even know what's being talked about right now.
People in the ego.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm just saying, though, that was the jam. I mean, I don't. That's the pantheon of like hits from the 80s and shit.
Hey, Kamal.
I think the fact that Kamal knows it and Kim doesn't makes all the points.
Hey, Kamal. That Fonda Ray for us was their rare essence.
No.
Very regional.
Try again, because rare essence is an institution. You introduce this as a one-hit wonder. We are not comparing apples to oranges, my good sir.
What's a national hit by
maybe
Rare
Doing
Essence?
the Butt? But everybody knew Doing the Butt.
That ain't even them.
That's not rare.
That's
First
not
of
even
all,
rare essence.
it's that we're not
That's
even interested.
experience
What they got?
unlimited.
Overnight
National
scenario.
hits.
That's about it, ain't it?
National hits, that's inconsequential. This ain't go-go ain't for y'all. Go-go is for us.
Yeah, the go-go
Right?
thing.
Like,
They got the go-go thing.
we don't even care whether you like it or not.
They got
Like,
that
they don't
go-go
even
thing,
go
yo.
for us.
You
They
remember
stuck
when
in that
you remember,
go-go.
you remember your parents was like, sound like a bunch of pots and pans.
Uncultured,
You
and your people revealed the lack of cultureness when they made such comments, such statements. It's
you
African.
can't
Go-go
have it.
music is African music.
Don't try to give it
You
no
can't
shield
have
like
it.
that. Don't give it no
It
shield.
is. Listen to the drum, my God, the congas, the
Oh
percussion,
my God.
the
The
go-go response.
polyrhythms.
Go-go music is
Mhm.
deeply African.
It
It
is.
is
It is.
deeply
Yeah,
African.
it is.
And like Dr. Scott Brown said, it's the last uncorrupted indigenous music on the planet.
It is. That's true.
And
Mhm.
I
agree.
I'm tempted to agree with that. It's uncorrupted. It is the most original, authentic African polyrhythmic, community-based music on the planet, and it can't be corrupted. So you can't have it.
Nah, we don't want that. Y'all, DC, Baltimore,
That's not what we don't
y'all
want.
be the root. Y'all be the root of that. Y'all keep that. Y'all keep that.
Y'all got good taste, and we know that, and that's fine. No worries. No
yeah.
worries. But
All
yeah.
right. Well, that's what it is. That's your mix. I catch y'all at the end of the show. I believe we might have mixed. We done made it up to
Oh,
like
yeah.
340,
Oh,
320.
you owe
Whoa!
absolutely.
All right.
Yep. You
Who
up
brought
there?
these people over here? Jared, Kamal, where'd y'all find us at? New folks. We don't normally get that. That's a wonderful number for us to have as
We
a
have
live.
been getting up there
chat
though.
audience.
Some
Mhm.
we have though. We've been hitting those. We've been hitting them. But feel free to let us know where you caught up with us from. But welcome everybody and bring somebody with
Yeah.
you.
Please.
So.
Thank you. We certainly appreciate it.
Mhm.
In terms of news, whatever things are
FD didn't
percolating
do
in
all
the
that.
news.
What is this dollar thing that Ear Doctor keeps talking about? What is the dollar
Dollar?
thing he keeps talking about? He keeps saying he wants to hear
Mm.
about this dollar story.
What's the dollar
Oh,
story, Ear
I'm not
Doctor?
sure. I think
I
he
haven't-
needs to come back and tell us.
Now you
'cause
got to
we-
come
we're not
inform
sure.
us about the
I
dollar.
keep hearing that the dollar isn't is they getting rid of the dollar in different countries and stuff. The U.S. dollar. I didn't know.
Well,
Oh, you talking about the
Bricks.
the
Talking about bricks.
the bricks. Yeah. Mhm.
The brick
We're waiting for that
brick
for a
shop.
while.
The only thing that I struggle with is that at the end of the day, and I do try to pay some attention to how this works, is that from my humble understanding, is that at the end of the day, you have to have it backed by military power. And at the end of the day, they can talk about trading against one another. They can talk about, creating a currency that would make it more difficult for the U.S. to impose sanctions and whatever. But to my understanding, that is the what comes behind all of that is the military might of the United States. In addition to its influence politically, its willingness to be a market for other people's goods, to produce goods for other people to purchase. I think it's going to be a lot. I'm with them. I hope that they can create this balancing currency to create some distributed power on the planet away from the United States. But to me, they're inviting conflict, and that has to be. I mean, I'm sure they know what they're doing, but that has to be part of their planning, as far as I would have to assume that. And if there's not a military unity among those countries, I don't know. Anyway, but that would be my initial 2 cents to it.
Yeah, now the latest news is that Malaysia it is moving away from dollar dominance in trade, and they're in talks with China to discuss an Asian fund, and that's kind of wrapped up into this, creating an alternative currency or trading with China in Malaysia's local currency, and not having to translate Malaysian currency into US dollars to trade with China. And the interesting thing about what we're seeing economically with countries around the world making bids to join BRICS and entering into the deals to trade with China and Russia in their local currencies is that I think that what we are told about these deals, and these are formal agreements that Russia and China are making with other countries. What we're told about them is that they're only economic deals, but I have no doubt whatsoever that a part of the negotiation, a part of the deal is we will support you militarily when the U.S. responds, because I don't believe that either China and certainly not Russia or any of these other countries believe that the United States is just going to sit back and go, okay, well, you all don't want to do our bidding anymore, so we're just going to let that go. China is a nation of more than 1 billion people with a B. They have the largest military on the planet, even though they don't spend as much on their military budget as the United States government does. Russia has an enormous military. They don't spend as much money on their military as the US does. But that does not mean that they are not quite formidable matches for the US military. And so the relationship between Russia and China and their deals that they have made absolutely does include a military component. So the United States understands that they're not going to respond to any of this economic uh, uh, activity without resistance from Russia and China primarily. Even if they go into some of these other countries and try to start something, they are going to get some pushback. And now that I think about it, not just from Russia and China, we're talking about now Saudi Arabia, Iran.
Woo!
Yeah.
Sorry.
So so the rest of the world, the rest of the militaries of the rest of the countries in the world, the non-aligned countries, the non-imperialist countries, even if they are capitalist, they are not imperialist. They are cementing not only economic deals with each other, but those deals are also agreements for military support and cooperation in anticipation for the military response to the multipolarity that is emerging, that they know the U.S. is not, they're just not going to, the U.S. is right now, the U.S. is preoccupied with Ukraine and stoking a war with China. And within the next 5 years, something is going to happen. The United States is going to do something in Taiwan to stoke a war with China. It will look just like what they did in Ukraine. I mean, it's the messaging is already happening. So from the US's point of view, whatever they do with China is going to weaken China's ability to continue to be the negotiator for all these economic deals and all. But that ain't gonna work. That's not gonna work, because the rest of the countries in the world really have gotten to a point where they've decided we're not afraid of the US anymore. So this
when did Saudi
move to
Arabia join this?
I'm sorry. This move to a multipolar world. You're right, Jared. It's not. This is not going to be one of those bloodless revolutions, right? This is going to be ugly. There are going to be coups and private wars and proxy wars as the U.S. tries very hard to keep these countries from doing exactly what they're doing, but they can't stop it. So it's going to be a very uncomfortable few years, maybe even decade or two. But yeah.
When did Saudi Arabia have a change of heart and decided to allow? I mean, because that is a big deal. That is a long time U.S. strategic ally, and for them to even be considering joining a different group to partner with people such as Russia and China. I mean, that sounds like a big deal. Who did Joe Biden piss off in the Saudi monarchy? And what's going on there?
Well, I can't say. I think the Saudi regime, because it is a fascist regime, and there are plenty of problems with the Saudi regime. But I think the Saudis have always kind of operated with under going with whoever is the most powerful, and they certainly see the United States government as less powerful now, and they're thinking about the long term. They don't want to be on the wrong side of China and Russia. They don't want to be on the wrong side of that agreement. And so China, President Xi Jinping was able to broker this, or is in the process of brokering this deal with Saudi Arabia. And part of the negotiation is that Saudi Arabia has to end its involvement in Yemen. I mean, if Saudi
China did
Arabia is
that?
willing to do that,
Okay.
Well, I don't.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, we have to see what the details are.
Right.
But basically, China was the lead negotiator to have Saudi Arabia and Iran have diplomatic relationships again, and part of that is a list of things that they want. So, I mean, I think Saudi Arabia saw from the time when Iran, through what was happening in Yemen, basically, let's say, droned Saudi oil refineries and knocked out like half of their production, and the U.S. did nothing. Right, the U.S. didn't come back. I mean, later on, the U.S. killed the general of Iran, but it didn't react to that particular moment. With got Saudi Arabia a little skittish, right? It's like, oh, we thought all this big rhetoric we were pumping meant that the United States was going to have our back. And meanwhile, the United States is pivoting in some ways to have a more frontal confrontation with China, and is reducing some of its forces in the Middle East to reposition some of those forces vis-a-vis Asia, vis-a-vis China. But I don't think Saudi Arabia is necessarily leaving the camp. But I agree. I think it's doing what it's considering to be balancing its efforts, because it sees that Iran is not going anywhere. Iran is not going to be defeated. Iran has a huge population, relatively speaking, sophisticated military equipment. It can't necessarily challenge the U.S. On the international front, but the U.S. is not about to invade Iran, and no other nation is about to invade Iran, because then it would be a quagmire for them. But I think it's basically saying, hey, these tensions are high, and they want to pivot and worry about their economic situation, and so it wants to sort of like bring down some of the military conflicts happening in the region that it's involved in order to pivot to try to diversify its economy, as it says.
And then, so then what happens? So then what would Saudi Arabia then try to? I mean, obviously they would have to either end their weapons purchasing deals with the United States, or continue to buy those weapons using.
Well, that's not. I don't think that.
Right.
That's not happening. Right. That's not that far. It's not. China. I mean, Saudi Arabia is not leaving the relationship years, but it is in its own way. I mean, they're diversifying their interests, because they feel like they can't count on the United States just to come in and punch Iran in the mouth. And it's like, aha, that's done. You know what I mean? Like, I called my big brother up in here. He was like, no, your big brother didn't come. So now you got to fight your own battles a little bit here. And Saudi Arabia, they're not up for that, right? So they were like, this is a little peace talk here. Let's lower this conflict. I think both sides want it, right? Both sides, for their various reasons, want to lower the conflict in some ways. But they have so many, there's Syria, there's Yemen, there's other places where conflict is brewing, Lebanon. And so that part is going to be negotiated. But the negotiations are happening through China, as opposed to the West, which is huge in terms of a swing, right? And I put up the story a little bit about how China is becoming second to the IMF in terms of loans given for loan forgiveness or restructuring of loans. And that is a huge, I mean, again, like Jackson, these are decades in the making. This is not a right away thing. But there's a slow moving train that says a multipolar world is potentially in the midst. But the United States and Western Europe will obviously do everything within its power, as it's doing with China, to isolate it, to try to make other countries not use its technology, to limit its access to Western technology. It's going to do everything in its power to slow that down. But there is that slow train that's happening. China will soon be, in 20 or 30 years, the largest economy in the world. And there's nothing that's really going to stop that from taking place, not only because of its internal population, because of its trading partners that surround it, right? And China's the big boy on the block. So folks also don't want to mess with China.
Yeah. And if people have been
And what?
paying attention, Saudi Arabia, remember a few months ago when the U.S. Announced, all of these sanctions against Russia to isolate Russia and tried to force OPEC to reduce their oil production. And Saudi Arabia said, hell no. That should have been the indication right there, the clue that, yeah, this relationship between the United States and Saudi Arabia isn't as solid as it used to be. So, if you're kind of looking at the way Saudi Arabia has been operating, particularly in response to this proxy war in Ukraine, you can see the kind of cracks in the relationship between the regime and the U.S. government. And it hasn't been rosy for a minute.
Well,
I mean, and
interesting.
this is. Sorry, no, go ahead, Kim. Sorry.
No. Go ahead, Jared.
Well, I mean, just this. I just wanted to. This was one of the things that got. This was what part of Saddam Hussein's plan once upon a time to stop using the U.S. dollar as the petrodollar, and isn't that? I think that's one of the reasons why he got invaded.
Wasn't that Gaddafi, or was that also Gaddafi? Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. He was like, there's a pattern of people trying to break with the dollar that gets them invaded, and that's why I was bringing up the military component. So it's good to hear that. Obviously, they're thinking about that.
Well, speaking of invasions, NATO has expanded its member coalition. Finland just recently officially became a member of NATO. Finland, of course, sits right there on the Russian border. I'm sure that's not going to cause any additional problems in the region whatsoever. But NATO continues to expand, and I don't know. I would say grow more powerful, but I'm not actually convinced of that. They just got bigger.
Yeah, I mean, the way the story was spun in U.S. media is like, oh, in a blow to Vladimir Putin, Finland becomes the member of NATO. It's not like they didn't see it coming. And yes, this means that now NATO can put weapons in Finland directly on the border of Russia. But I think we don't really understand it, and I'm glad that on By Any Means Necessary we do talk to Mark Sloboda all the time about the geopolitics of Eastern European countries, particularly Russia now. The border that Finland shares with Russia is like, the way Mark described it, it's like frozen swampland. So it's not populated, it's not, and there were always tensions between Finland and Russia before that, before now. But now, certainly, when Russia looks across the border, as Mark describes it, now they absolutely see an enemy in Finland. What does this change as far as the NATO relationship to Russia? Does it make it worse? I don't know. I don't think that there's anything categorically worse or worse than it already was. I mean, NATO started this proxy war in Ukraine. How much worse can you get, right? Finland joining NATO is actually not beneficial for the economy in Finland, because a part of Finland being a member of NATO means that Finland can now no longer do business with Russia, and they used to. There used to be a lot of cross-border business, and now that Finland is a member of NATO, now they're almost immediately seeing their economy suffer, because the other NATO countries don't want them to do any business with Russia. And it was a situation where Finland was importing Russian goods. Russia didn't need Finland. Finland needed Russia. So now, okay, Finland is a member of NATO, but all they're going to get is some weapons, and they're going to get neo-colonization by the U.S. dollar, because as the United States is losing its influence in other countries, they have to find somewhere where they can push their dollar hegemony, and it's these Eastern European countries that are NATO members. So Germany, that's going through deindustrialization, they're going to be neo-colonized by the US and dollar hegemony. Finland now, their economy is about to crash or suffer greatly. The US is going to take advantage of that. So the United States, in doing this, benefits by having a new market to economically colonize. So
I just very quickly, I was just looking back at my Kindle copy of Bernie Sanders' new book, and he has all these wonderful things to say about Finland and why he supported a U.S. version of Finland's economy. And it's just another reminder that Bernie Sanders and all this social European democracy, social democracy or democratic socialism is based on and builds on and extends from and exists on the auspices of colonialism and capitalism and imperialism. So that's what Nkrumah famously told his European buddies as he looked upon their wonderful social democracy, that you're welcome, and it's the colonialism of by people that makes all this possible for you. And here's Finland, just, you know, so yeah, they have good schools and good school lunches and healthcare and, you know, employment and incomes for their citizens, and it's all based on their willingness to support capital and imperialism. And here we have another example of it, as far as I can tell. So anyway.
Well, speaking of someone who's willing to support the upgradement of the enjoyment of our ears, I'd like to welcome the ear doctor back, because we are Oda Mix. Here we are quickly approaching the 10 o'clock hour.
Word.
Came through and put in some work today, ear
They
doctor.
did. They did. Listen, 3:31 right now. So big, 3:33 right now. So big up to all the people tuning in. With that said, we're going to be right back here tomorrow morning. So tell a friend to tell a friend it is on again. And let's get these numbers up, and let's make sure y'all do some donations too. We got to keep this. This ain't free. Talk to him, Kamal. This ain't free.
Look at Kamal over there.
All right. With that said, let's go ahead and get to it. We out. Remix Morning Show, y'all.
One, two, three. One, two, three. The crew is called refugees, and if they come for just about styling, stop the violence and just bring it on. Why yo? Hey yo, the kind of melancholy people think they really know me. I keep my rap with Bobby while I drive a daddy shouty. I'll take the toll, fighter for my own soul. Cause the bourgeois type of mental sucks like a black hole. But I remain a rebel, base the basis towards the EQ. The devil's wishing they could send me back to Mogadishu. Cause I've been wild since I was a juvenile Afro-centric profile, back when righteous rap was to a style. That kid's a wilder, so I asked the bad black, Oogie Bandit, what's the damage? Give me the estimate. Pray tell me when the revolution will begin. I turn on my TV, I check out Farrakhan on CNN. I'm like the phantom that's flying like the bird, doing things you never heard. Plus I come from the suburbs where they gone. I heard they had it kinda hard, and you got your skin score when they were shooting on the bullet.
I entertain crowds, 1,000,000 and thousands. Homeboys making noise as I do browse through a girl's mouth. Say the funky rhyme to make the girls get naked. I can turn it out with different sounds on my record that I say give them is you'll absorb the rhythm. The magnificent record maker of prison. The Bismarck kids are going off. The Bismarck kids are going off. The Bismarck kids are going off. The Bismarck go off.
Nobody but that rugged shorty. Fuck a 40 if I can sip Hennessy by the 40. W-E-E-D spells relief. No Dutchie twist miles in a fauna. Let's think cheap. I goes to the extreme, so proceed.
Big up to the ladies of hip hop.
You left me last night, I burned this morning. So what up now?
No other than Jersey's finest, Lauren Hill, Heather B. We out of here for the Remix Morning Show today, y'all. Peace out.
And what? Be up with that ooh, spark that tree. I hope you ain't a knocker that's gonna fold on me, B. I wanna burn with you all night, then get live, but we could blow up with that Sega put in that man in 95. And keep your conversation short if your cash is. Don't promise me lavish gifts and can't prove true.